Hi everyone, Darren Hunter here, and I'm with Michael Sanz. This is the Outsourced PM podcast show. Michael, we've got some really good podcasts already in play. Far out. I think we've got some really good response so far. We've covered tenancy applications. We've talked about the big issues that people have, potentially working with virtual assistants around task accuracy, and it takes too much time, and we talked about the issues, and we even talked about how you manage 650 properties with 1.5 staff in Melbourne, and the rest were virtual assistants. So, Michael, what's some of the feedback you've been getting so far?
I've actually had exceptional feedback. I'd probably say 80-90% have been from business owners who have been listening and having those aha moments, right, where they're kind of thinking about how their office is operating. And also, leads where we get a lot of phone calls at the moment about staff burnout, people struggling with the COVID whiplash, and business owners are really wanting to make things flow effectively for the team, right? And so the feedback we're getting is business owners are listening to this, and they're implementing. They're actually making these micro and macro changes to make life easier for their staff, for their team, for their clients. I've been blown away. Just from this podcast, blown away.
It's been great. It's such a good way to share with people how outsourcing can completely free you up. And Michael, you were a master at this. 80% of your property management tasks you took away from your office people and trained virtual assistants. Of course, everyone, if you want that list of 30 property management tasks that you can unburden your team with, just go to teamsbydesigntasks.com. That's teamsbydesigntasks.com, and get that 30 property management list. Now, but before we get on today's topic, Michael, where are you and what are you up to right now?
So I'm currently holed up in a business lounge room at Qantas International Sydney Airport, and flew in from Queensland, and will embark back to Darwin through to London to help people in the UK with their outsourcing needs and structuring their business. But Qantas have politely donated this room to us so that we can make this happen today.
Well, thank you so much, Qantas. And Michael, you've already got a number of property management letting agencies in the UK right now that are using virtual assistants, as well as New Zealand and Australia too. So let's get into today's topic. And Michael, when you were running your 650 properties and using a virtual assistant, one of the big things that you did was that you outsourced your repair and maintenance, looking after all the phone calls and dealing with the maintenance to your Filipino virtual assistants. Now, I'm going to be the old school property manager today, so I'm going to throw some big rocks at you and try and answer the typical mindsets that already property managers have got right now, even as we're talking about this. So let's just start dealing with these. But how the hell can then virtual assistants in the Philippines that have never been in Australia, never been in Australian property, competently deal with Australian repairs and maintenance if they're not a property manager? How the hell is that possible?
Well, firstly, I would challenge a lot of property managers that they are not properly equipped to handle maintenance. They are not adequately trained to pick up and detect maintenance. And when they do, a lot of it is kind of top level, right? We speak to so many agencies, and I guess you see it more when a property manager leaves the office. Oh, Darren, I've just gone through Dennis's portfolio, and you're not going to believe it. All this maintenance was untouched, and there's issues there, and they didn't do this right. Or, just from a junior going out and doing inspections, looking at maintenance and saying, oh, yep, that's fine, So for me to have my team in the Philippines do it, I felt that I could train them with far more accuracy on the right questions, Darren. I think where we can solve maintenance better, faster, is knowing the right questions to ask. I don't think many offices train their team to ask those fundamental questions. So, Darren, like I said earlier, if I knew then what I knew now, I would have done things even like 10x from what I was doing. But I still would have gone down the route of having my offshore team handling the maintenance process because I trust that. I couldn't trust, and I've seen that time and time again, property managers going out and misdiagnosing, not asking the right question, sending tradespeople out frivolously so that the tradespeople send a call out fee to the owners. And then you got the headache of the owners questioning the bill and what happened here? I didn't authorize this. You sent out an electrician for a gas hot water unit. Stop. So Darren, back to that, I don't know. I can't see why anyone, I could bring anyone off the street, anyone from another country and put them through our training with TBD, and they will be more qualified than most property managers that are, starting in the industry and mid-level. Respectfully, right? I'm generalizing. We deal with thousands of property managers across the world.
Yeah, and I think we agree that repairs and maintenance takes up, I reckon, 20 to 25% of a property manager's time. It's probably a good 1.5 to 2 hours a day. This is a big deal. If we can actually successfully outsource this job away from the property manager that just feels that they have to do everything, this is a big deal. This can really unbusy teams that they can focus better on customer service or rent roll growth or whatever. But let's just throw some rocks at this. So I'm a tenant. I've called up. One of the virtual assistants has taken the call or taken the email, and hey, and my roof is leaking in the lounge room.
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I've had that happen to our office when we were in Bali. Remember that time?
I remember that.
I think first and foremost, we need to ask and identify, is everyone okay? Right? And if the roof is leaking in a house, we have to ask, okay, well, one, are you okay? What have you done to minimize the damage? Right? What do you mean? What have I done to minimize the damage? The water's pouring through the roof and it's going on all my TV and I'm going to sue you and blah, blah, blah. Right? You get that, all the emotion there. But for us, we have a series of triage questions, right? Okay, do this, grab a bucket, grab something and put that under the leaks coming in through the roof. Put your towels there, take photos, take video, make sure you send that through to us. A plumber is not going to be able to come out to your house right now, given the circumstances, but please minimize the damage and we'll get a plumber to you right away, as soon as we can.
Can I just say, already there's so many property managers that haven't even been able to do that. I mean, wouldn't know how to say that, do that, or an inexperienced assistant in the office. Already, this is deeper than what a lot of property managers would do. Not all of them. There's some good ones out there that will cover that, but well done. Keep on going.
I think it really, and what we would call it the triage, with the maintenance triage. You got a frontline person there that can resolve 80% of maintenance. Yes, stuff goes wrong sometimes, and it is terrible, and it's got to be escalated to someone that has more awareness of what's going on. I mean, Darren, I've had houses burned down. I've had dead bodies in properties. I've had sewer lines explode at properties, and these are things that how would anyone know what to do and how to act? Right. And so from years of experience, your experience too, Darren, I mean, you've been there, all this, all these problems, handling things like a house burning down. Well, is everyone okay? Like, safety is paramount. Have you called 000?
Yeah, I know, call the fire brigade.
Because
I have had tenants call me with the chimney on fire, calling me.
It's, so it's identifying, okay, well, these things are really critical and serious. You need to call the police, the ambulance, fire brigade. Of course, we could always call them on behalf of them, but that's defeats the purpose of an emergency situation. But when you get things like a hot water service, this used to frustrate me, Darren, like dealing with property managers, like companies I used to work at, and they'd...
But sorry, that's a good one, because how do you know if it's electrician or a plumber? I mean, any hot water service may need one or the other. They get complicated.
Yeah, and I think when people start off in property management, they kind of think that hot water units are either electric or either gas. And so whoever's doing it on the day will send out a plumber or an electrician, right? Or they just don't ask the right questions. So we train our team, Darren, to ask questions like, is it gas or electric? Oh, I don't know. Okay, perfect. Do you have any water coming out of the tap? Yes. Okay, great. So there are trigger questions there. Water's coming out of the tap, so the unit hasn't blown. So it's probably an element thermostat, or the pilot light needs to be relit. So then, have you gone into the unit? Can you tell us, the age of the unit or the make of the unit? Can you pull the paneling away from the unit? There are those triage questions. And then, Darren, if they say, oh, gas, it's a pilot light. How do I light this? They've got the instructions on the back of the units. And sometimes that is just a minefield for people to understand, because it could have peeled and just deteriorated over time. So we then send them a video out. We had our own video done. And Darren, I used to do video recordings when I was at my rental properties, and I'd put on a tripod, light a pilot light, and that's what I would send out. But now with people, we have other videos on YouTube: how to light a pilot light, how to replace a light bulb. All these things that were taken away from our office before we had to get to it. And then I get the question, oh yeah, but how do they know what tradespeople use? Or are they going to call the owner? Bespoke, Darren, very different rules and nuances. And I guess some portfolios are larger than others and run differently. There are some things that my team could speak to my owners about regarding maintenance. The notes will be on file. These are their tradespeople, or these are the company tradespeople that we can use. The owner has approved to spend up to $200 or $300 or $400, right? And then a lot of owners were fine with someone calling them saying, hey, Darren, it's Michael at a niche property. Just letting you know, the tenant has reported that the hot water service isn't heating up. We've gone through triage questions. We've asked them gas, electric, water coming out. At the moment, we think that the unit, the unit is electric, and it probably needs an electrician to go out there and change the element of the thermostat. Typical cost for that, somewhere between that $300 and $500, depending on the unit. We'll send a tradesperson out there. They can call you from the site if you want. Otherwise, if it's within that range, are you happy if they go ahead? Right? All the control is gone from the situation, or it's given to the individuals running that situation. And then, I would get a call, or, the property manager would get a call and say, hey, this is done. The plumber's going out. The electrician's going out. I also struggle, Darren, thinking that, the property managers think that they are the only ones that can do maintenance. And they take this pressure on. And it becomes such a burden, such a grind, because like you said, it takes up 20, 30% of their actual day-to-day. It's huge.
Yeah.
And the emotion too.
I agree. But so what do you say what about your virtual assistants with the expense repair, talking to owners? How does that go with owner, keeping credibility with the owner, speaking to a person that might be in the Philippines?
Yeah, I think like having someone in the office that's inexperienced or just starting out, and they're just not sure what to say to the owners. You would have someone, from the PM department maybe make that call. So the triage can be done, and then the call can be made by someone senior if they weren't sure about what to say. So we would word up our team, right? And every time there was something different they hadn't experienced yet, then we would FAQ it, right? And then that would go into a platform that they would use to kind of filter back, I answered the question like this for a hot water service, or I answered this because the kettle kept, the fuse where the kettle was kept popping. And just over time and experience, you're not going to find someone from, remote that's going to know everything about your maintenance, right? So there is that grace period. I mean, with TBD, Darren, we do maintenance for so many clients. And so whilst, yes, the company helps with doing some training around that, we have if this, then that. Is it hot water? These are the questions that you ask. Has your shower screen cracked? Ask these questions. Is there a problem with your oven, gas, electric? Do this. How do I clean the stove? All those simple things. It's
probably 95% of the stuff can be dealt with like that. And there'll be the odd thing that may need some help with the person, at the office there.
But it's a triage, right? It is getting all the information. So even if my team were instructed not to make a critical decision, who to send out, they would gather it all. And then I'm able to look at that information and go, great, send ABC Plumbing to go out there.
Yep.
Right.
So having all the actual information in front of you for a property manager, experienced property manager, go, yep, out of all of those 10 points that have been presented in front of me, I can make a split session decision, in 30 seconds. I think that's great. That's such a time saver.
It's also too, so we would ask, it's compulsory, right? We needed photos, videos. So we would get that come through, and then our support could then send those photos and videos. If it was more complicated, send the photos and videos off to the tradesperson and say, hey, this is the situation. This is the information we have. Can you give us an indicative price if everything was to kind of go smoothly, right? And then they would kind of say, yep, that's probably what it is. This is probably what it will cost. And then we have three indicative prices of tradespeople. So when we're speaking to the owners, if they needed 2 or 3 quotes, say, hey, look, we've spoken to these 3 tradespeople. They've seen the video, they've seen the photos, they understand what's going on. This is what the rough price is going to be. And that solves another headache, right? Because you've got all that information. Now, Darren, property managers should be focusing on the high level, the resolution stuff. But I can't even guarantee they do that. How many offices have we taken over, with TBD, but we've gone in and had to clean up the maintenance, outstanding jobs that haven't been invoiced, tenants, not confirming if the jobs have been done because the property managers have neglected to call them back because they're busy. Imagine maintenance gets done and someone has a follow-up call with a tradesperson, just confirming you've done this. Perfect. Can you make sure you send your invoice through? Great. Call the tenant. Just wanted to make sure everything is done to satisfaction. Is everything okay? Can you make sure you just monitor this over the next 7 to 10 days or however long and let us know if it pops up again? Perfect. Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, the job has been done. Here's the invoice. We'll run it through the rent for you or whatever your accounting rules are at the time. And it's done. You don't need to overcomplicate it.
Even if virtual assistants just manage up to 90% of the problems, and then property managers only have to worry about the 10% really complicated stuff, how liberating would that be? It would just free up so much time where property managers don't need to be bogged down doing this mundane stuff that could be done by others. But I guess it comes down to that crisis that we're seeing out there, Michael, of it's harder and harder for bosses to find quality experienced staff out there, and then they're going to dump this on them. What's your feedback on that? How do you feel that this all just fits into that?
I think what I'm seeing at the moment are there are bosses out there, and what they're trying to do to solve this issue is to try and hire someone. And there's great expense when you're hiring someone full time to come in and try and relieve some of the property managers from some of the tasks so they're not feeling burnt out. But identify these issues like maintenance, arrears, application processing, like all these grunt work tasks, and you can have someone just focus on those tasks, right? Take majority of the maintenance away, take majority of the arrears away, these tasks, which means that you don't need to go out and struggle to find that person out there that isn't there at the moment anyway, right? With a solution that is going to actually give you some focus and dedication. Right, someone just giving you the full 100% of the time, doing that, cleaning it up, fixing it. You're not going to find that with a person at the moment, Darren. There's this crisis with staff out there, and we see that. Like business owners are just at the end.
Yep. And I can't see it getting any better. That they've got to rethink the model of what they think property management should be. Taking off, again, up to 80% of those tasks can be successfully done by virtual assistants. Why? Because you proved it can be done, because you did it yourself, and now you're working with a number of businesses that are now doing. And again, everyone, if you want that list of 30 property management tasks, just go to teamsbydesigntasks.com and download that list there. But Michael, there's just so much that we can cover, and I think we'll wrap this particular podcast up now. But repairs and maintenance, again, there's a lot of old school property managers out there asking questions now. But even if 80% or 90% of the repairs, that repetitive stuff, can be outsourced, and just you dealing with possibly the far more complicated stuff, it's going to make a big difference in you actually doing 100% of it.
And you know what, Darren? Like, I would challenge any business owner that is listening to the podcast, think of some type of maintenance that you think can't be done or outsourced, right? Contact us. Let me know. Have a chat with me, and I'll tell you what a process could be to work through that. Bear in mind, you're probably going to throw something at me that happens once in a blue moon, but think of all the different type of maintenance calls that come through to your office, how they're being received, how they're being logged, how they're being tracked and followed. And please don't say that you use an online CRM like a Property Tree, and that's how you track it all, because I know countless amount of agencies that don't actually keep track of it. They don't know where it's all at. Right? Not everyone, but I would say a majority do not know where it is all at. So, yeah, throw it at us.
So how many items would you have triaged now with questions? So we've got, roofs leaking, or a tap leaking, or a pipe's broken, or a toilet's blocked, or, the power's switched off in the house. What do I do? Well, how many different items do you think that you've already triaged with all the countless questions that you ask? And you being a former property manager and me being a former property manager, it's not like we're coming in without that experience and knowing how these things work. How many items do you think you've already triaged in this system for virtual assistants?
I couldn't give a number how many. I mean, I would be trying to find a number of how many we haven't. Like, but I think I've seen it. I would. I know you never say you've seen everything. I would say I've seen close to everything, Darren. Hoarders, like I said, dead bodies, fire, flooding. I've had balconies in new builds fall off on New Year's Eve while there are people on them having barbecues.
That sounds awful.
I mean, it's really terrible. But like, being in property management for so long, and I really enjoy the problem solving side of it. And now, like, it's multiplied because we work with so many agencies across the globe. We see all these, like, just 1 in a million type events that happen in properties. That's our next book, right? What happens in maintenance. But
I guess for you, it's that 1 in a million. Hey, you want to know about it, because if you've got so many things covered, you want to know about that unicorn when it does happen. So the challenge out there, everyone, if you've got your unicorn that you think a virtual assistant cannot handle and should not be handling or whatever, challenge you, get in contact with Michael. But anyway, get in contact with Michael anyway for a chat on how this could actually work with your team. What's the best way for people to reach out, Michael?
Look, go to teamsbydesign.com, go to the contact us and drop us a message there. We've got some good videos on there also that outline outsourcing, how it can work. And we'll book in a time with you to catch up, have a 10-15 minute chat and see how we can help.
Cool. And of course, everyone go to teamsbydesigntask.com for the 30 property management tasks that you can absolutely outsource to virtual assistants. But thanks, everyone, and take care.
Thank you. Bye.